Fake news and police helicopter cover-ups for October 28th. At 7:41 a.m., a large copter flew across the end of my street at Soltero de Seo intersection or somewhere nearby. It was misty, foggy out, so I wasn't able to see the helicopter, but I heard it. And at the same time, when I noticed where it was and I was about to record at least the sound, a civilian in a Cessna revved his plane really loudly on my head. So much so that I couldn't even record the sound of the helicopter. And also took the opportunity afterwards to do the Doppler effect on my head, to turn it down as he's leaving and act like that's all that ever happened. So this is an aside, but the Cessnas, when they do their Doppler effects, I listened to that video of the Cessna from this morning, and it sounds like he's not even doing anything. So just like with the jumbo jets where they set the fire, then they send the jumbo jets down, and then my phone is tapped and broken, so then they tell the pilots to turn their lights off and to turn away from me, and then whatever I am able to get on my phone and record, that's the starting point, which is like obviously nothing and far from the reality and the truth. And it's the same with the planes. They're like, oh, we only have videos of some instances with 2 or 3 planes, and we can't be sure that that happened all the time. It seems like it just happened every now and then. And on top of that, he's just a paranoid idiot. And so that's far from the truth. This is an aside real quick about the Cessnas, but 2 to 3 is nothing. And it was all day long, 24/7, and it wasn't just 2 to 3 planes, and it was a personal interaction. They weren't just flying by. It was insane. And I have some videos, and they're like, oh, that's a really low flight. That happened all the time. The military helicopters happen all the time. Sea dragons on my head all the time. So the starting point is far from reality. And so that may or may not have been the police helicopter, because that's a theme right now of cover-ups. Or it could have been a large military copter, because that's a theme right now too. Because yesterday they did the event that I called the Squadron, where they flew those planes around my neighborhood, who also did a left turn cover-up at 24191. And they were also painted ridiculous, like unidentifiable, just like when they painted those 2 custom helicopters to be cover-ups for the Blackhawks, and to say that those are what flew over my house and Blackhawks didn't. And in context, with a Blackhawk double threat, that was after my mom was hysterical and asked me to explain to her again what was going on, and I did, and I explained everything, and they threatened me immediately with the Blackhawks, and then because I recorded it, then they sent out the UN copters to threaten me again. And so everything's taken out of context, and I'm sitting here dealing with fake copter cover-ups today. They're putting plastic on the bottom of a stupid black helicopter to muffle the sound and do a UN copter cover-up. So it was either one of those. And then at 9:40 a.m., the police helicopter came up the fake copter pocket route that never existed from Alicia towards my house. So that's across the street behind the houses. And he made a left curve as he was coming in with pulses and waving. So that way he's covering up for the straight line dart. He's waving because that has something to do with... Oh, he's waving because he taunted me when he did that one cover-up that I recorded him, and then I ran out of storage space with the app, and then I deleted the apps. And then he's doing pulses because the speed or something, every plane pulses now, because my first person experience is so stupid that I just can't be... I don't even know what it is. But so anyways, those 3 cover-ups, the pulses, the curve instead of the straight line, and then the wave because he taunted me on his way in. And then he made the right turn at 24181, so they moved it from 24191 to one house over, so there's another little variation of it. And when he left, after he did the right hand turn at 24181, he did a large swooping turn, so big right, big left, big right, big left, huge swoops all the way out to Jeronimo Matias intersection, and probably beyond. I didn't see him after that, but he kept going, and he slowed down a lot. And then at 10:56 a.m., I was uploading my video, which was taking like 40 minutes for October 27th, and it was about 60% finished. And so I wanted that video uploaded today so that it could be reviewed today, so that they wouldn't be able to have another day for excuses. So I think they sent this police helicopter out to do a cover-up at 10:56 a.m. in order to stop that. But he was also frantic, and he covered pretty much all of the areas that there have been problem spots, and all of the the themes that I call them themes, but the events that I guess prove personal interaction, even though everything, the entirety of all of it is a personal interaction, even the fake news blogger, all of it is related to me. It's ridiculous. There's some that aren't, like a drunk driver or some true thing, but there'd only be like 5 posts per day. It's Mission Viejo. And so he approached, and it was basically frantic all over the place. And so what happened was I was busy, and I was being basically bombarded with Cessnas as well, so I knew something was up, and I had heard the copter for a while, maybe 10 to 15 minutes, but let's just say 10. So I heard the helicopter. No, that's not correct, because I had heard him out in the park at other times before this, so this was going on for a while throughout the morning. But I heard the copter sound then, and I got off the truck and ran across the street towards a 2-story house to look back behind me diagonally across Oliveira towards Montevideo Elementary School, where I heard the sounds, and I saw him, and he was doing power circles. So the location there was a kind of like a cover-up for the October 16th event that I think they said they fabricated evidence and said that it was a Cessna, and I think that's why they're starting to have to do the red-orange light flashing cover-ups, and then also the frequency of the flashing light on the helicopter cover-up, which they've been changing, and also the speed of the power circles, some fast, some really slow, some with pulses, because they probably showed a video of a plane, and planes float differently than a helicopter drives. So he was doing circles there to cover it for October 16th, and possibly also to mix it in with the park, which is part of the overall circle loop that encompasses my neighborhood, that allows him the freedom to deviate off of it wherever he has an incident where he does something stupid and thinks on his own, and then just incorporates it into his regular surveillance and calls it surveillance, and then it's covered up. So I think that also the circles were part of the park incident where they tried to lead me down with the large white blue helicopter, and then have the police helicopter come up from behind me and catch me 100 to 150 feet off my doorstep and say that I'm the guy they're looking for, to arrest me basically off my doorstep. And so when I saw him then he crossed over 24092. So some of the part of this, there's a couple parts to it. He needs to cross over that house because that's where the dart originated, and that's where he had threatened me, and I had recorded it a few times. And then I was under him at night, and I was talking about how they posted the fake Transformer fire news, and then he did a dart. And so that's one of those instances when I was talking about how he thinks on his own, and then they just incorporate it into their regular surveillance and say that it wasn't a personal interaction, when the entirety of it is a personal interaction with me. So he crossed over 24092 where they had posted the fake Transformer fire event. And also an aside about that, that's when I started getting some help and uploading videos, and people were actually starting to see what was going on, and perceptions were changing. And so they shut down the electricity to my house a couple nights before that when I was uploading videos, and some damning videos. It was around early August, I think. And I know they did because the electricity shut off when I was trying to upload some damning videos, and then 4 Cessnas flew over in a group over my house, like right as it went off. So, and then a couple days later, they did a Transformer fire and shut down the electricity again. And it all had to do with me, so all the time. And then all the people are out there looking at me, making faces. My family berates me. And these people are nuts, and no one believes me. And so he crossed over 24092, and part of that I was getting to is that he also kind of deviates from the park and crosses over my roof to cover up for the night when he let me out at 11:30, and tried to spotlight me and then chase me back to my house when I ran away. So this is also kind of like a deviation off the park. But I mean, if it's your regular surveillance cover up, you have so much freedom to make up whatever you want. So he crossed over 24092, and then he turned at the end of the street, a big left swoop, and he traveled down the houses on the opposite side of the street from me. If you're looking across the street, right to left, coming towards me from the Deseo end of the street, from the 24092 end of the street, and he crossed over the 2-story house. And so that has become a hotspot recently because of videos that were private and then made public recently, and people noticed that he's done many events there where he just does power circles. That's one of his spots. One of the videos I labeled last fake Amber Alert because he's been there so many times, like 100 wouldn't be an exaggeration just for that one spot for power circles. And And then so he turned at a right turn at 24191, and then did a straight line cover up with really fast speed changes and turns. So the dart was covered up, and then the speed of it was covered up. And so he did the military copter cover up turn right there, and then he also returned. So that's a return, because the return incidences are when I deleted the app and he followed me back to my house, and then the times when he led me down to Jeronimo, Alicia, or Caladab with the spotlight, and then followed me back to my house, because that shows personal interaction. So then at 11:05 p.m., he was doing circles at Jeronimo and Matias. And then at 11:07, he was doing circles at Jeronimo Cordillera, and then he came up to the two-story house, and he was it seemed like he was going to do a circle there, and then he crossed over the street between the 24092 transformer firehouse, and then between the area that was 3 houses down from me, where he got stuck on October 16th, which is where I found him when he was starting this event. So that's another return. So now he's returned to the same spot. So it's not just returning to my house. They've now incorporated where you return to other locations too. So, and then at 11:15, I heard him out in the park, and I was also being bombarded with other planes at the same time, so I couldn't follow him perfectly, and he was doing a lot to avoid me, and he was flying fast and frantically sometimes in between. And so at 11:15, I heard him in the park again, and I was trying to find him, and then at 11:20, I found him going left to right down the park towards Jeronimo-Matias intersection. And the Cessnas were harassing me the entire time. They were revving their engines really loudly and just messing with me. It was gnarly. They were on my head and kind of like diving at me. And then he made a right out of the park, and he turned. So that's like one of the variations where he turned out of the park to cover up for the night at 11:30 when he crossed over my roof. They say that sometimes he just deviates out of the park off his routine and crosses over my street, and maybe near my house or on my house or closer to the park. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not important. And so he made a right out of the park and then came down the Copter pocket and kind of crossed over Soltero, Oliveira, and then up Oliveira, Castilla. And he made a slight left curve behind 24191. So in order to do a little bit of a turn variation for the military copter turn cover up. And then he went really, really fast towards Jeronimo, Alicia. And then he slowed down a little bit and did the big left swoop, right swoop, left swoop, right swoop to cover up for the straight line. And then he slowed down incredibly, so he changed the speed and the straight line. At 7:19 p.m., he showed up down the helicopter pocket from Jeronimo Matias toward 24191, and he had the red-orange flasher on. And so the light is significant because they fabricated evidence, and then the Cessna lights are incorrect compared to the police helicopter lights. So now everything has red-orange lights. Even the jumbo jets, they're not red anymore. They're orange-red, and it's noticeable. I noticed when they change the speed of the planes. I noticed everything when they first do it. And so he crossed over the two-story house, and he slowly went out down Deseo, so down my street. He crossed over basically 24092, the transformer fire again. That's a routine now. It's a spot where he goes. And I guess the excuse for the transformer fire was that, oh, well, one time he dropped his sandwich or he was taking a call. So he just does circles there. That's part of his routine area, so it's not a big deal. And then he went really slow at Deseo and then Caladad to cover up for the events with the intercom and leading me down there and stuff like that. And then he was doing little rights, then lefts, and then he was doing pulses to make it not a straight line. And then he had the orangish red light on, but he changed the frequency of the light. It was flashing a lot quickly, and then it started changing. It went fast, fast, slow, 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 fast, 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 slow, slow. And it was the weirdest thing, so he changed the frequency of it. And then after that, there were Cessnas all flying around with red-orange lights.